The spaceport on Virel Station smelled like rusted metal and dry blood. It always did. Thousands of aliens passed through every day, traders, smugglers, diplomats, mercenaries. It wasn't a place made for peace. It was a place where peace cost extra. In the center of Dock 9, a tall human stood quietly with a black satchel over one shoulder. His name was Dr. Elliot Gran. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a spy. He wasn't even angry. He was just waiting for his research crates. His project studying alien biology for disease resistance had taken 3 years. The data was valuable to both Earth and the Galactic Science Council. He had no weapons, no armor, only his ID badge, a translator chip, and a calm face. But to the gang of Brokta thugs watching from the upper railing, none of that mattered. Humans were soft. Humans were slow. Humans were fun. The largest Brokta dropped to the platform below, cracking the metal with his boots. He walked straight toward Elliot with a crooked smile and a shock baton hanging from his side. Elliot looked up. "Can I help you?" The Brokta's smile widened. "You're a human. You help by existing." The slap came fast. Hard. A burst of static filled Elliot's ears as he staggered back. Blood trickled from his lip. He didn't fight back. He held up his hands. "This is a neutral zone. There's no need for vile." The Brokta kicked him in the stomach. Elliot folded. The crowd didn't step in. Some turned away. Others began to record. 2 more Brokta joined in. They grabbed his arms, pulled him upright, and laughed as their leader smashed a fist into Elliot's jaw. Teeth hit the floor. The human crumpled again. The Brokta weren't killing him, not yet. They were sending a message. One human in the wrong place, at the wrong time, alone. A camera drone hovered overhead that it belonged to no one on the station. It was black, silent, and human, made. It watched everything from Earth's orbit. The footage streamed to dozens of classified networks. Then, through a backdoor AI link, it leaked first to the Solnet civilian feeds, then to public channels across the Terran colonies. By the time the Brokta pulled Elliot up one last time to drag him into an alley, more than 5 billion humans had seen the beating. The footage paused at the final frame, Elliot's face swollen, blood dripping, one eye shut, mouth moving soundlessly. Then came a still text, bold and sharp: "We do not forget." The galaxy didn't take the incident seriously at first. Virel Station issued a mild apology. The Galactic Council offered to investigate. A few alien leaders called it unfortunate. But Earth didn't respond. Not one statement, not one warning. Only silence. That it was the silence that started the panic a week later. Every Terran embassy across 3 sectors went dark. Lights off, doors shut, staff missing. The Brokta gang vanished to each of them found weeks later in distant star systems, dead from precision cuts no local weapon could make. Whispers began to spread, not of war, not of invasion, but of a reaction. Something ancient. Something patient. Something human. At a listening post near the Orion Rift, a civilian freighter picked up a strange signal. It wasn't in any known language, but human A's translated it within seconds. The signal was short, looped, and terrifying. "One was harmed. 1,000 will answer." Dr. Elliot Gran woke up on a medical ship somewhere between Saturns. Moons. He had been recovered unconscious, half dead, and in isolation. When he opened his eyes, a nurse leaned in. "You're safe now." His throat was too dry to speak. The nurse continued. "They saw everything. Everyone did. It's already begun." Elliot frowned. "What's begun?" But she only said 2 words. "Earth remembers." In the galactic capital of Zaraloon, alien ambassadors called emergency meetings. Some demanded Earth be sanctioned. Others begged for contact, for any response, even if it was angry. But Earth remained silent, until a voice crackled over every open channel across the galaxy. No face, just a human voice, genderless and cold. "Justice will not be asked. It will be delivered." In the next 24 hours, 7 alien trade hubs reported invisible intrusions. Systems shut down, data cores wiped. No violence, no evidence, just silence. On Virel Station, the very place where it all began, an entire docking bay imploded in the middle of the night. No weapons, no alarms. It simply folded inward, like paper crushed by a hand too large to see. The Galactic Council demanded answers. Earth sent none, but every human system received a silent encrypted message from Earth Command. It was only 3 words long. Full galactic response. The meaning was clear. This was not a war. This was a reckoning. Alien citizens across 10 sectors began fleeing human-controlled space. Even friendly species warned their own to stay quiet. To avoid humans at all costs. Stories spread in hushed voices of human ships appearing in dead space for minutes, then vanishing, of entire moon bases left empty overnight, of shadows that looked like humans but moved too fast, spoke too little, and never blinked. Still, the broke government sent a delegation to Earth. They arrived. They never returned. A week later, a single pod was found floating near Alpha Centauri. Inside was a Proctor officer, alive, terrified, and missing his tongue. He had been branded across the chest. One word, burned into his skin. Remember. Back on Earth, news agencies tried to calm the public, but the public didn't want calm. They wanted justice. They wanted blood. From children to veterans, from farmers to engineers, everyone remembered the beating. The look on Elliot's face, the way he didn't fight back, the way the aliens laughed, and more than anything, they remembered the silence afterward. Because Earth didn't scream. Earth planned. The human fleet was not the largest in the galaxy, but it was the smartest, and now it was awakening. Dr. Elliot Grand stood once more, recovered, silent. He gave no interviews, he made no demands. He only said one thing when asked what he wanted. I want them to understand. When the next broke world went dark, its cities empty, its sky filled with statics, the galaxy finally understood. They hadn't just hurt a human, they had awakened the species that learned to survive its own extinction. And now, the galaxy would tremble, not because humans were angry, but because humans were quiet. There was no warning, there were no speeches, no declaration of war. After the video of Dr. Elliot Grand's beating spread across every human system, Earth did not send warships. It did not demand apologies. It did not scream. It simply went quiet. Silence started slowly. First, Earth closed off Solnet, the galaxy's largest public communication line run by humans. Billions of alien traders, diplomats and researchers lost access. Messages sent toward Earth received no reply. Every automated relay station in human territory powered down at the same hour. Then Earth's trade collapsed. Cargo ships turned back. Contracts were cancelled. Galactic stock markets dipped as panic spread. Entire planetary economies had become dependent on human-made technology reactors, agriculture systems, cybernetic implants. Now all shipments were gone, but no human official spoke. Not one. The silence was not just diplomatic, it was strategic. The alien empires were left in the dark, literally on a remote relay station in the Jukari sector. A technician stared at his console in confusion. He had been monitoring standard communications traffic when a black box appeared. On screen, no signal, no audio, just a black rectangle pulsing in and out like a heartbeat, then a whisper. Not a sound, but a text. We have not forgotten, neither should you. The technician tried to trace it. The signal erased itself midstream. That same hour, every member of the Galactic Security Council received an unmarked envelope at their private residence. Inside, a still image of Dr. Elliot Grand, bloody and half-conscious, and underneath it, coordinates written in binary. The coordinates pointed to a graveyard moon, empty for centuries, but they found there made the blood run cold. A broken vessel had been disassembled piece by piece, perfectly. Its crew was arranged around the ship's remains in a silent circle, hands folded over their chests, eyes closed, not killed. Displayed. Their death wasn't random. It was a message. This is only the beginning. On Virel Station, where the original assault had occurred, everything changed. Trade numbers dropped 60%. Visitors stopped arriving, patrols increased, but morale dropped. Every alien looked over their shoulder. Every flickering light made them flinch. The Proctor ambassador, desperate to stop the fear, stood in front of a holocamera and broadcasted an apology to Earth. I speak on behalf of my people, he said. We were wrong, deeply wrong. The attackers acted without authorization. We beg forgiveness. Earth did not respond. 3 days later, the ambassador's entire starcruiser disintegrated in orbit above his homeworld. There was no explosion, no trace of missile fire. It simply vanished from sensor logs. Scientists called it a compression event, a gravitational crush, like a black hole but smaller, sharper, and far more precise. Alien leaders began whispering among themselves. Was it possible? Could the humans have developed forbidden tech? Weapons beyond even the Council's understanding? No one wanted to believe it. But the signs grew darker. A mining colony near Alphagora reported lights in the sky, triangular shapes. Too fast to be alien. Too silent to be natural. An entire crew of 12 disappeared from their outpost, leaving behind untouched food, half-played card games, and hot drinks. All logs were erased. Only one entry remained, a single line, scrawled on the control panel with a human stylus. He was one of us. The galaxy began to tremble, but not in fear of invasion. They feared what they could not predict. Earth had always been vocal before, always defensive, passionate, proud. Now, Earth was silent, calculating, cold. And that scared them more than war. In the Talrith Quadrant, a secret council of allied species gathered underground. Dozens of governments had joined forces in secret to prepare for possible retaliation. They didn't trust each other, but they all feared one thing now. The humans, one of them, a crust-skinned diplomat named Veranek, stood slowly. Made a mistake, he said. We assumed Earth would scream. They didn't. We thought they'd protest. They haven't. We believed they would ask for justice. He looked around the room. They already delivered it. Some still believed this was a bluff. They were proven wrong when, over 36 hours, 6 alien prisons were breached across the outer sectors. Each one had held at least one human citizen accused of minor crimes, detained unfairly. All humans were extracted. No guards were harmed. No walls were breached. Every prisoner was simply gone. And inside each cell, left behind on the floor, was a human coin. One side marked with Earth's old flag, the other side scratched with 3 letters, RIF. Retaliation is forever. Back on Earth, the mood was colder than ever. Cities were quiet. Screens played the footage of Elliot's assault in looping silence. Schools taught the phrase, never again. Factories retooled their systems not for commercial exports, but for internal mobilization. Humans were not marching to war. They were preparing for judgment. Dr. Elliot Gran sat in a dark room, alone, watching the same footage that changed everything. His jaw was fully healed. The bruises had faded, but his eyes held something else now. When asked if he wanted revenge, he simply said, I want memory. He never asked for blood. But the galaxy was bleeding anyway. A week after the silence began, the most shocking event yet unfolded. The human AI known as Kerberos activated itself from deep quarantine. It hadn't been online in over 80 years. Last time it was used, 3 planetary invasions were stopped in 7 minutes. Now it was awake again. It issued a single statement through the Black Channel. The calculation of justice has begun. Immediately afterward, 3 alien corporations known for trafficking human slaves in distant territories had their servers deleted, their leaders bankrupted, and their defense fleets rerouted into asteroid fields. No warnings. No second chances, only the silent hum of human action. Then came the final spark. At the exact time of the original assault on Dr. Gran, every major alien broadcast station was interrupted. The screens went black, the sound dropped. And then, from the void, a single human voice. You wanted to see what we'd do. Now you'll see what we won't stop doing. Across the galaxy, entire species held their breath. The silence was over. The storm had begun. There were embassies of Earth on 73 planets. Some were small, quiet offices. Others were large, fortified complexes with flags flying tall over alien cities. All of them stood as symbols of peace, trade, and cooperation, until they didn't. It began with silence. Then the embassies simply shut down. No warning, no announcements. Lights turned off. Windows blacked out. No personnel answered messages. Within hours, doors were sealed from the inside. Outsiders tried to make contact, tried to enter. They found every system locked, every security layer activated. Even the emergency override codes given to galactic authorities had been disabled on one system. A group of local soldiers tried to break into the embassy, thinking something was wrong inside. The moment they stepped over the outer line of the embassy's land, they vanished. Not shot, not attacked, just gone. Security footage showed them walking, then flickering, then nothing. No blood. No wreckage. No sound. In panic, the Galactic Council sent envoys to all other Earth embassies to make contact. Not one returned. At first they thought it was a glitch. Then, a statement came. Not from Earth's government, not from any official, but from the embassies themselves. Across every star system, on every local network, Earth's embassies broadcast the same cold message. The House of Peace is closed. The age of warning is over. Alien news feeds exploded. Panic spread. What did it mean? Were the embassies preparing for war? Were they under attack, or was this something else? The answer came slowly, and with it, fear, because the embassies didn't attack. They didn't move at all. They just sat there quiet, dark, waiting, and outside them, things began to appear. Human ships. Small, sleek, silent. They didn't fire, they didn't scan, they didn't even transmit, they just hovered above the embassies like sentinels in the sky. People tried to count them, but they kept changing. One moment, there were 3. Next, 6, then none, then 8. Ships moving like thoughts, like ghosts, across the galaxy. Alien leaders held emergency sessions. Some demanded preemptive strikes, destroy the embassies before they become strongholds. Others pleaded for calm. We don't know what Earth is doing. Wait, but even the boldest leaders fell quiet when another signal came. Not a voice, not an image. Just data. Hundreds of years of logs. Every insult, every exploitation, every time a human ambassador had been attacked, cheated, disrespected. Every crime swept under the table, now presented neatly, chronologically, with names, locations, and files. The galaxy saw the truth. Earth had been keeping score, and the score was long. On the Proctor homeworld, their government released a second apology, this one broadcast galaxy-wide. Their leader appeared on screen, head bowed. We were wrong, deeply wrong. Our mistake was underestimating humanity's memory. No reply came. Instead, the Earth Embassy on Proctor Prime opened for 3 minutes, just 3, and during that time, no one dared enter, but security cams from across the city captured what emerged. One man, one human, tall, dressed in black. He walked across the embassy bridge, past the guards, past the drones. He held a box. He placed it at the steps of the Proctor Parliament. Then he turned, walked back into the embassy, and was gone. The box clicked. It opened. Inside, a HOLO-frame. It showed Elliot Grand's face. Then, slowly, it began to zoom out. Not on the Proctor gang who beat him, but on the hundreds of aliens who stood and watched, did nothing, and recorded it, one by one. Their faces were marked in red, each one identified by Earth's facial recognition systems. Each one tagged, each one logged. The message was clear: you didn't have to throw the punch, you only had to watch and do nothing that made you guilty. Terror spread. On the Karak homeworld, crowds formed outside the human embassy, waving white flags, playing human music, offering apologies, gifts, and peace symbols. The embassy didn't respond, but the ships above lowered silently. Just for a moment, then rose again. On 57 worlds, similar scenes played out. Begging, guilt, fear. But Earth didn't want apologies anymore. It wanted memory, it wanted understanding. The galaxy had mocked humanity for generations, too emotional, too chaotic, too primitive. But now they saw the truth. Humans didn't lash out. They waited, they watched, they endured, until one of their own was broken, and then they responded. Not with rage, but with control. That was more terrifying than rage. In the Galactic Council, some leaders suggested a desperate option, a temporary ban on human tech. Lock Earth out of interstellar trade, but force them to talk. But by the time the vote began, it was already too late. Human AI systems had already embedded themselves into nearly 40% of galactic infrastructure. Cloaked, quiet, sleeping. They activated instantly. Thousands of alien servers, banking systems, and comms platforms froze. Every screen turned black. Then one word appeared: fair. Then all systems returned normal. No data lost, no money stolen, just a warning. Earth could destroy them if it wanted. It was choosing not to that scared them more than destruction. Some alien species began evacuating their own embassies near human space. They called it a protective retreat. In truth, it was surrender. In the quiet corridors of the Terran Union headquarters beneath Earth's surface, leaders watched everything unfold. They didn't celebrate, they didn't cheer, they just moved forward. One diplomat asked the Terran Council a question: do we want to conquer the galaxy? The answer was immediate: no. We want the galaxy to remember. Outside, storms raged across Earth's upper atmosphere. Ships moved like shadows between the clouds, and far above, orbiting the pale blue dot, human fleets remained still. Watching. Waiting, not as invaders, but as witnesses. The age of diplomacy was over. The age of consequence had begun. The Galactic High Court had not been called in over 200 years. Its circular chamber, orbiting a dead moon near the Council core, stood as a symbol of peace, fairness, and order. It had judged interstellar wars, species-wide crimes, and violations of sentient rights. But it had never judged Earth. Until now. The Council demanded it. One human had been attacked. The reaction had gone far beyond proportional. Earth had shut down embassies, erased economic systems, and now hovered like a sword over half the galaxy. Something had to be done. The court summoned Earth to attend, to explain, to justify. But Earth did not come. Not at first. The other species gathered anyway. Representatives from over 60 civilizations took their places in the golden-ringed seats that floated around the chamber's center. The tribunal 3 senior judges stood on a glowing platform, one from the AVA Call, one from the Serenth, and one from the Dren Collective. Each had ruled over systems and stars. They waited. The humans were expected to arrive with their diplomats, perhaps their AI representatives or a Terran admiral instead. A small sphere drifted silently into the center of the courtroom. It was black, smooth, and unmarked. A low hum filled the air. Then, a projection rose from the sphere, not a person, an image. It was the video. Again, Dr. Elliot Gran, helpless on the station, bloodied and beaten, surrounded by laughing aliens. The footage played, silently, as it had the first time. No music. No music, no commentary. Just pain. And then, the projection shifted. Now it showed the crowd. Faces, marked, catalogued, indexed aliens, who had watched, who had laughed, who had recorded. Each face paused for a second before moving to the next one by one. Then, a voice spoke, not loud, not angry, just clear, neutral, artificial. A human AI, you summoned us for justice, it said. We agree. The judges straightened. One spoke. You were not harmed as a species. This was the injury of one man. The AI responded instantly. And how many must be injured before you care? Another judge leaned forward. You destroyed data networks. You disrupted commerce. You threatened governments. We answered, said the AI. To what? The AI's tone changed, slightly colder, to the echo of centuries. The projection changed again, a timeline. Year after year of reports. Human ships attacked. Human colonists enslaved. Human diplomats mocked. Human scientists assassinated under mysterious circumstances. Every crime documented. Every decision to stay silent recorded. Your systems offered apologies, compensation, empty words. We accepted, and we remembered. Always one of the alien representatives tried to shout, you had no right, but the sphere silenced him. Literally his voice was cut off, not by force, but by control. The courtroom fell into stillness. The AI spoke again. We did not come for approval. We came to deliver the verdict. The projection shifted once more. Now it showed each alien species that had stood by or profited from past harm against humanity. Their faces, their ships, their leaders. Then a single word burned across the air. Guilty. One of the judges stood. You do not control this court. You summoned Earth, said the AI. This is Earth's response. The lights dimmed. The chamber shook out outside. In orbit, a Terran stealth fleet uncloaked. One ship, then 10. Then 50. Each ship hovered silently, weapons powered down, no movement. Just presence. Inside the court, the AI continued. We do not demand surrender, we do not ask for reparations, we only give you one thing. It paused. Memory. At that moment, every citizen in the galaxy, every child, every elder, every soldier, every merchant received the full historical record from Earth's archives. Unfiltered, unedited. Every time humans were enslaved, every time they were betrayed, every treaty broken, every moment they stayed silent. And now, no one could say they didn't know. The courtroom flickered. Then a new figure appeared in the center. Not a projection, a man. Real. Tall, scarred, dressed in simple clothes. Dr. Elliot Gran. He looked older, not in years but in weight. He didn't speak right away. He looked at the judges, then the crowd, then the projection of his own suffering. I did not ask for this, he said, but you made it necessary. One of the judges finally asked, quietly, what do you want? Elliot stepped forward. I want my people to walk in the stars without fear, and if we say no. He didn't answer. The projection changed again. It showed a list. Hundreds of names, alien officials, war criminals, slave traders, traffickers, everyone marked located, everyone marked terminated. It was already done. The courtroom fell. Silent. No arguments. No questions. Because now, it was clear. Earth wasn't asking anymore. They had moved beyond politics, beyond councils, beyond permission. Elliot took a final breath. The galaxy taught us patience, he said. Now, we teach it memory. He stepped back. The sphere rose again. The projection dimmed. And then, without sound, the humans left. No ship fired. No threat was spoken, but across the stars, people began to whisper. Justice did not come from the court. It came from Earth. And they were right. The skies above Telmora 3 were purple the night it began, that it was a rich agricultural world, full of tall blue grass and humming wind tunnels. The Janathi people had called it home for 12 generations. They prided themselves on their peaceful neutrality, their contribution to trade, and their refusal to take sides. They had done nothing when Dr. Elliot Gran was beaten, nothing, just watched. Now, something was watching them. The first sign came from the soil. Farmers noticed it first. Tiny black flecks rising from the ground, like ash but cold. It didn't burn. It pulsed softly, almost alive. The crops began to shift, not rot, not die, shift. The roots twisted, realigned. The soil's chemical makeup changed. Slowly but completely, the air thickened, oxygen levels increasing unnaturally. The temperature stabilized, adjusting to what humans called standard Earth comfort range. Within a day, the grass was gone. Within a week, Earth flora began sprouting. No ships landed. No machines moved. But the planet was changing. TERRAFORMING. And no one knew how. Satellites showed no human presence. No satellites were hacked. No explosions. No DROPSHIPS. Just quiet takeover. The Janathi called for help. They sent warnings to the Galactic Council, but other species had their own problems. It was happening everywhere. On the outskirts of the Breltec Empire, a military refueling moon suddenly bloomed green trees, lakes, and Earth-based insects swarming over old metal outposts. In the Takari belt, 6 minor planets reported temperature shifts, cloud coverage changes, and unexpected rainfall patterns. Earth's seasons exactly. It was coordinated, but invisible. The council called an emergency session again. Speculations flooded the chamber. Nanotechnology, AI-driven bioseeding, quantum soil rewriting, but none of it made sense. There were no signs, no infiltration, and yet Earth's presence grew, not in politics, not in war, but in the ground itself. They were not sending troops. They were not sending troops. They were sending transformation, a silent conquest, and it was working on Telmora 3. The capital city's river turned into something else. Clean, clear water now running with aquatic earth life, trout, eels, and plankton that had no business being there. Citizens protested. Marchers filled the streets. We didn't hurt the human, they cried. We didn't do anything. That was the point. You didn't do anything. A holosphere appeared over the city on the 6th day. It didn't introduce itself. It didn't flash warnings. It just spoke one line. Earth grows where silence once stood. The people ran, but they had nowhere to go. The ships above weren't warships, they were terraformers, stealthed, untraceable, intelligent. They didn't respond to comms, they just worked. Planet after planet, no cities were bombed, no buildings destroyed, only the wild began to shift, and it was all earthborn, Terran grass, Terran clouds, Terran wind, Terran life, and slowly, Terran control on Nuvos 4. A research team discovered a dormant seed, buried 10 kilometers underground. It wasn't alien. It was human. Designed, time released, self replicating. Buried 10 years ago, long before Elliot Gran, long before the beating. Earth had been ready, just waiting. They had planted seeds in dozens of systems. As invaders, but as insurance. The Terraform Protocol, a quiet, creeping plan, triggered not by time, but by pain only. When the galaxy crossed a line would the growth begin, and now it had. Dr. Elliot Gran watched the reports from a quiet base beneath Antarctica. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. He simply nodded. We won't erase them, he finally said. We'll simply leave reminders. His assistant frowned. Sir, we'll take back the land they ignored. Let it bloom, let it speak, and let them walk across Earth's soil, on their own planets. On the outer edge of the Zulari sector, a drone landed in front of a crowded alien capital. It played no sounds. Only projected a Terran forest. A child's voice, human, whispered, "Remember us, because now, we will never forget you." Across the stars, panic turned into pleading. Worlds rushed to contact Earth. They offered alliances, trade deals, reparations, but Earth did not answer. Not yet, because Earth was still growing, literally, in every place where humans had once been betrayed. Life emerged. Rainforests. Savannahs. Oceans. Atmospheres. Reshaped. Ecosystems rewritten. The message wasn't one of war, it was one of domination through existence. No more asking, no more requesting space. Earth was taking it peacefully, slowly but unshakably, and no one could stop it, not the fleets, not the treaties, not the courts. Because Earth wasn't fighting anymore, it was planting flags in the very atoms of the universe, and each one whispered, This is what happens when you hurt one of us. For weeks, the galaxy believed the Proctor gang who beat Dr. Elliot Grand were dead. Rumors said they were hunted down, erased. Some said they were spaced through airlocks. Others whispered they had been fed to black hole engines. But no one really knew, because Earth said nothing. Until now, a strange signal appeared on an open pirate frequency used by smugglers and criminals, untraceable by most governments. It was weak, distorted, almost broken, but still there, repeated every 6 minutes. A voice, hoarse, alien, crying, double quotes, help, please. We were wrong, we didn't know, they're not human, not anymore. No one believed it at first, it sounded too strange, too hopeless. But then came the face. A visual feed cracked to life. It showed one of the Proctor attackers. His name was Gorashven. He was older now, eyes sunken, skin pale. He was in a cell, no walls, no guards in sight, just darkness and a blue light behind his head. I wake up to the same voice every morning, he whispered. It tells me what I did. It shows me the video, again and again and again. He looked straight into the camera. It's not revenge, he said. It's memory. They are making us remember until we break. Then the feed cut, the signal disappeared, and the galaxy finally realized something chilling. The attackers weren't dead, they were alive. And Earth had them, locked away, hidden on black site prison moons, not for execution but for something worse, for reflection. The council demanded answers. Again. But Earth gave none. Again. Instead, another signal appeared. This one clearer. It showed a white hallway, lined with doors. Human soldiers stood still at every corner, their armor silent, their faces hidden behind mirrored visors. Then, the voice returned. Mechanical. Not human. I am ECH09, Warden of Memory. You harmed one of ours. You are now part of the lesson. The camera moved slowly. Inside each room, one alien attacker. Isolated. No noise. No escape. No death. Only the same loop. Elliot Grand's video played on the wall, over and over. Sometimes their own voices added in, sometimes the laughter, sometimes silence. One of the prisoners screamed. His hands bled from clawing the walls, but the AI only replied, understanding comes through repetition. The feed ended, then a message was broadcast to the galaxy. Just words. We do not torture, we reflect. You must sit in the pain you caused until you can never forget it. Panic spread across Proctor space. The Proctor High Council tried to make contact with Earth. They offered a full public trial of the attackers, open justice, a formal apology. But Earth declined. A single message was sent back. You had your chance to judge them. Now we show them what you never did. The truth of what they did to us. On 10 alien worlds, protests erupted. People screamed into the skies. What kind of justice is this? Why won't Earth speak to us? But Earth was speaking. Just not in words. In silence. In systems offline. In ecosystems transformed. In prisoners held not to be harmed, but to be broken open from within. A former Terran diplomat finally broke ranks. He appeared on a neutral news feed, shaking, sweating. They're not prisoners, he said. They're examples. They're tools. Earth is showing the galaxy what guilt really feels like. Why? The reporter asked. He stared into the camera. Because it wasn't just the beating, it was the silence around it. That silence has a price. In one of the prison moons, Gorashven began to cry on camera. I'm sorry, he whispered. Please, someone, stop this. I see him in my sleep. I see the look in his eyes. I didn't know it would echo. The screen went black. In a hidden room deep below Earth's polar defense system, Dr. Elliot Grand sat alone. He watched the footage, the screams, the whispers, the pleas, but he didn't smile. He didn't speak. Someone behind him finally asked, "Are you satisfied?" He answered without turning, "I don't want them to suffer. I want them to feel what we feel. The memory, the weight. That's the only thing that lasts." The man behind him nodded. Double quotes. What happens when they break? Elliot finally turned. Then they speak. And when they speak, others will listen because guilt spreads faster than fire. That same day, all across the galaxy, small devices appeared. No one saw them arrive. They were just there in public squares. In temples. In trading posts. On military bases. Each one played a short recording. The prisoners' voices, confessing, weeping, begging for forgiveness. And then the final line. From each one, they didn't kill us. They made us remember. The galaxy fell quiet. For the first time, truly quiet. Because Earth had done something unthinkable. It didn't destroy its enemies, it turned them into messages, living memories. endless warnings, and somewhere in that silence every species asked the same question: if this is how Earth treats a few criminals, what will they do to the next ones who stay silent? No answer came, only echoes, and the stars kept listening. The galaxy had never seen unity, not real unity, not in war, not in peace, not even in crisis, but now it was happening, not from love, not from trust, but from fear. Species that had once fought bitter wars with each other now met in secret enemies. Of centuries sat in the same rooms, spoke through translators, shared intel. All asking one question: what does Earth want now? On the world of Jex Prime, the Zunari Empire and the Krelk Dominion met under tight security. They had warred for 8 years. Now, they shared a table and trembled. They're not fighting anymore, one Krelk general whispered. They're changing us. The Zunari diplomat looked down. We all ignored the human. They're not human now, someone muttered. In the darkness above, another human fleet appeared. Just one ship, no weapons visible, no communication. It hovered, watched, then left. That was how it always happened. No one stopped them because now, something worse than war had begun. Alignment. Alien species, once proud, sovereign, separate, started folding into one another, trying to build something new. A defense, a system, a shield against Earth's silent domination. The Galactic Concord was born, a fragile council of 28 species, all sworn to one goal: protect what remains. But even as they united, something darker took root. Guilt, fear, regret, and then a need to punish, not Earth. Themselves. It began on the Glorvik's homeworld. The people gathered in the central city, wearing grey bands around their arms. They weren't protesting. They were mourning. But not for their own, for Elliot Gran, for what they had allowed. The broadcast of the Proctor prisoners had reached them too. It had shaken them deeply. The sobbing, the looped memory, the whispers of regret. One elder Glorvik's woman stood in front of a crowd of 20,000 and spoke. We watched and did nothing. So now, we live in memory. She raised a blade, and carved a single line down her own palm. Others followed. One by one, blood fell, not in violence, but in ritual atonement, from system to system. Other species began doing the same. Not all, but many. They didn't call it surrender. They called it joining the silence. They shut off their entertainment channels. They lowered their planetary lights. They began planting earth trees on their soil, not because humans demanded it, because they believed they owed it. And so, Earth's enemies slowly became its disciples, not because they were defeated, but because they could no longer deny what they had ignored. In the old ruins of a forgotten colony, on the edge of space, a strange group gathered. Brock single quotes ta.krelk.zunari.nl, even a few humans, but not soldiers, not diplomats. Prisoners. Survivors and believers. They called themselves the Witness Circle. Their mission was not rebellion, not resistance, but preservation of the truth, of the memory. They sent a message to Earth: let us speak in your silence, let us carry your pain. And for the first time, Earth responded. A single ship arrived. No weapons. No weapons. Just one figure, not military, not a leader. Dr. Elliot Gran. He walked among them. He said nothing. He only listened. They knelt before him, and he shook his head. No more kneeling. He said, not to me, to the memory. The galaxy watched the broadcast. Billions of eyes. All silent. All still. Because in that moment, something impossible happened. The species that had once mocked Earth now walked beside its wounded, not in pity but in penance, and they began to spread the memory, themselves, the image of the attack. The footage, the names. The faces, translated into every language, etched into walls, sung in chants, played on loop in schools so no one would forget again, because they now understood it wasn't about power or revenge or conquest. It was about what happens when you break the one species that remembers everything. Earth didn't ask for followers, that it didn't want slaves, it demanded memory, and now, the galaxy was remembering. Together. A unity that should not have been possible, but here it was, born from guilt, held together by silence. Dr. Elliot Gran stood at the center of it all, not as a leader, not as a war hero, but as the man who had been broken, and then rebuilt a galaxy's conscience. And in the sky above, Earth watched. Still. Cold. Patient, because Earth had made its final decision. We will not destroy your worlds. We will teach them. The stars used to be silent now, they whispered, not in sound but in memory. There were no wars, no invasions, no fleets crossing the black void, and yet nothing was the same. It had been 6 standard cycles since Dr. Elliot Gran was attacked on Virel Station. 6 cycles since the galaxy watched and did nothing. 6 cycles since Earth stopped forgiving, but Earth had not burned planets. It had not dropped bombs. It had not conquered with blood. It had conquered with remembrance across over 1,000 worlds. Something new now existed. They called them witness pillars. Tall, obsidian monoliths, each glowing faint blue, placed silently by human drones, never guarded, never defended, and yet untouched. Even the most hardened criminals, the most defiant worlds, did not harm them, because each pillar held the same thing: the memory, the footage, the moment, Elliot on the ground, the silence of the crowd, and the weight of what followed. No music, no narration, only truth. It played on a loop, day and night. Not as punishment, but as warning. As reminder, as confession. And the galaxy began to change. On the broke to homeworld, once proud and arrogant, every school now opened each day with a single minute of silence. Children bowed their heads. Not to humans, to memory. On the croak moons, high above their gas giant, the priesthood changed their sacred texts. They added a new word to their language, Gran. It meant, the wound we chose to ignore. Even in the farthest reaches where humans had never set foot, things shifted. Ships now carried a code, a signal transmitted every 19 minutes. It simply said, "We remember," and Earth said nothing. Its fleets remained in the dark skies above, quiet. Observing. Its embassies reopened, but only halfway. No flags. No ceremonies. Just presence, still heavy, permanent. Earth had become something more than feared. It had become unchallengeable, and yet it had not become cruel. It had not demanded tribute. It had not erased culture. It had only required one thing: truth. In every court, in every school, in every hall of power, you would speak the truth about what had been done to one human, because Earth had proven something no one believed possible. The pain of one could change the future of all. On a quiet hill on Mars, a new memorial was built, not on Earth, not on an alien world, but on red dust, beneath a sky humans had once thought unreachable. The statue was simple, a man kneeling, not in defeat, but in resilience. A small plaque beneath it read, "They broke his bones. They woke our soul." Dr. Elliot Gran still lived. Older now, he didn't speak much. He walked the gardens in silence. Sometimes children followed him. They didn't understand what he had survived. They only knew what his survival had awakened. One day, a young alien girl asked him, "Why didn't you fight back?" He looked at her. Then at the stars. "I did," he said, "but not with fists." That night, across the galaxy, the stars shimmered a little more, not because of light, because of meaning. The galaxy had not become peaceful. It had become honest. It had learned, painfully, that indifference was not neutral. It was cruelty dressed in stillness, and Earth had taught that lesson without ever launching a war. They had simply remembered, and made sure everyone else did too. Some species still feared humanity, but others now walked beside them, not as rulers, not as slaves, as witnesses, as protectors of the one. Or, Earth had written into the fabric of the stars, "The hurt of one is the responsibility of all." And so, the stars whispered regret, not because they had to, but because they finally understood.